When your stone is completely smooth and you've finished your edges, you're ready to paint in your edges, transfer your drawing, and start working on your drawing. So I will warn you, try not to touch your stone too much because there are oils on our hands that could in fact transfer to the stone and then pick up when we roll up. So try your best to touch it as little as possible. We're going to want to do our edges so that they're protected and, you know, to delineate the borders of our drawing. I'm going to use this junk etch, which is just used etches. So there's a little bit of nitric in here mixed with gum arabic. And this is going to help prevent the edges from rolling up when we print. And I'm going to take this brush. You can be particular about your edges. I'm just going to be drawing something in the middle of the stone, so I'm just going to do like about a 1-inch border, and I'm just going to eyeball it. But you're welcome to draw it in if that's what you would like, if you have a particular orientation to your stone. So I'm just going to paint in this border.
Turn it down, you say, but all I gotta say to you is time and time again, I say no. No. Tell me not to play, but all I gotta say to when you tell me not to play, I say no.
Right, so now we're gonna wait for that to dry. When you figured out your sketch for your litho stone and how big you want it, you'll want to think about how it's going to transfer to the stone. So when we print a litho stone, everything prints in reverse. So however you drew your drawing, it's going to look like it's in reverse. So a good way that you can see what it's going to look like is to hold it up to a mirror. If you like the way it looks, you know, you're welcome to transfer your drawing just how it is. Sometimes when we draw something one way, it looks a little bit awkward when it's reversed. Likewise, you know, this woman is looking in a particular direction. If it's reversed, she's going to be looking in the other direction. So, you know, just think about those things when you're transferring your image to your stone so that you're not disappointed when it prints. If you're not happy with the way your drawing is going to look in reverse, there's a couple things you can do. You can scan your drawing into Photoshop, flip it, print it back out, or you can trace it onto the back. So if you're at home, you can hold this up to a window and trace the image, or if you're in class, you can use the light table. So now I can see the lines that I'd like to transfer. So I'm just going to trace them onto the back of my drawing.
So if you ask me why I like the way I play, there's only one thing I can say to you. I wanna rock. I wanna rock.
All right, so when you feel like you've got the marks that you need, you're ready to transfer your drawing to your stones. I had actually already reversed this in Photoshop, so I'm gonna use it to transfer directly to the stone. So there's a couple ways you can figure out your drawing on the stone. You can just draw directly using a sanguine Conte pencil, or you can use transfer paper with red iron oxide. Both are oil-free, so whatever you draw with this won't show up when we etch our stone. So it's up to you how you want to proceed. I want to transfer my drawing because I don't have enough confidence in myself to just draw directly on the stone. So this is just newsprint with red iron oxide smeared on it. I'm going to rest it on my stone. My border is dry, so this won't affect it. And I'm going to create little hinges with tape. So one on the top, and then one on this side. And I'm going to leave this side open so that I can peek at what I'm doing. And now I'm going to get my drawing situated on the stone. I want it to be centered as much as possible and to clear the borders. All right, so up a bit. All right, so once I feel like I have it in the right spot, I will tape it down. To my transfer paper, and now I'm ready to trace over my lines with a pencil. And as I trace over the lines, it's going to transfer my drawing to the stone so that I can use that as a guide when drawing on the stone. So for example, this is what it looks like as it transfers to the stone. So it's light, but you know, it's still there and we can use it as a guide. So when your drawing is transferred and you're ready to go, you can remove the transfer paper, remove your drawing from the transfer paper and save it. All right, and then we're ready to go. So it's good to think about, you know, what materials you want to use to make your drawing. And with litho, there are a variety of what they call crayons in a variety of grades from very soft to very hard. They're often used in the manner of a pencil or a Conte drawing. You can sharpen them with a razor blade. Or sandpaper, and remember that the surface that we're drawing on is it's not white, it's like slightly grayish, so make sure that your tones are darker than you think they need to be so that they'll be nice and dark when you print them. There's also touche washes that you can mix. This one smells like lithotine. It was mixed in here, so don't mix it with water. Lithotine only, and you can use this just like you would a paint. You can also splatter it with a toothbrush. You can add sprinkle salt into it to create a kind of interesting effect. You can also paint on gum arabic that will act as a resist, and you can draw over it. And you can also remove material with an X-Acto knife, razor blade, etching needle, or sandpaper to open up some areas. And I think that's what I'm going to do in some of these darker spots. But first, what I want to do is get some of the general areas of the image down using the litho crayons. And there's a variety of holders that you can use for greater mobility. You'll also want to make sure that you aren't putting your hand down on the stone, because the oils from your hand might actually get onto the stone. So I'm going to put a piece of paper down while I draw to remedy that. Off we go.
There's a feeling that I get from nothing else, and there ain't nothing in the world that makes me go. Go, 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 go. Turn the power up. I've waited for so long so I can
So when you finished with your drawing and you're happy with it, this is the way you want it to look when you print it, you're ready to start etching your stone. So the first thing you're going to want to do is secure your drawing to the stone. We're going to sprinkle a little bit of rosin, and then there's a brush dedicated to rosin, so you can just brush it lightly over your image. All right, when your image is covered, you can actually just brush it back into the container that we got it out of, because we'll reuse it. All right, and then next, you're going to put talc on the stone. So in a similar way, sprinkle some talc on your image. Again, there's a brush dedicated to it, and just drag it across the image on your stone. And then dust it right back into the container. There's even some soft cotton here we can use. To move it. All right, so the next thing we're gonna have to think about is how strong to make our etches. I have gum arabic over here and nitric acid. You want to be careful with this because it will hurt if it gets on your skin. So just be mindful and careful when measuring your etches. I also have a couple glasses here that I am going to use to measure the etches. Right, and I've provided you with an etch chart. All the measurements are based off of 1 ounce of gum arabic. And the cups that we're using, there's no ounces, but there are milliliters, and 1 ounce is approximately 30 milliliters. So I'm going to fill it up to that 30 milliliter mark. All right, and then according to the chart, I used the Litho drawing material #1, which was really soft in areas that I wanted to get really dark. And I would say it's still not like the darkest, so it was about a medium application, which says 8 to 10 drops of nitric acid. So that will be my strong etch. And you want to line your etches up from the lightest to the strongest so you don't mix them up. You can even like write them on a little piece of paper underneath. And then I also used the like a really hard pencil, the #5. And again, it's about a medium application, so there's 1 to 2 drops. So when you're putting the nitric acid in, please wear gloves. Please be careful, and I can do it for you if you are really worried. So I'm going to put 2 drops in. All right, and then I'm going to put 8 in here. Right. So now I have a lighter etch over here and then a hotter etch over here. And the gum Arabic will dilute the nitric acid, so it's not going to burn you when we put it on the stone. So you're going to want to start with your lightest etch. And I'm going to put it just like around my drawing first, and then I'm going to rub it into the drawing. And I'm going to rub it for about 2 minutes once I get it rubbed into the drawing. And I'm not pressing really hard, just really gently rubbing it in, moving it around, agitating it. All right, so now I'm gonna spot etch with this hotter etch. I'm gonna actually like wipe off some of the excess gum with a damp sponge. Not all of it, just a little bit. And then I'm going to apply the hot etch to the parts where I used that softer crayon. And I'm going to gently agitate it in those spots for another minute or so. All right. So then I'm going to sponge down again the gum so that it's down to more of a thinner layer. And then I'm going to take some cheesecloth, bunch it into a little bit of a ball, and I'm going to buff down the gum. And you don't want any streaks or thick parts left behind, because those might affect your image. So I'm going to try to get it down to a really nice smooth layer. All right. Looks good to me. And then we're gonna let this sit for at least an hour, but overnight is best. And then we'll apply the second etch. So for cleanup, make sure you put your junk etch back in the junk etch container. Make sure you put the nitric back in the flammables cabinet. You can wash out the cheesecloth and hang it to dry and reuse it. And clean up your area.